Continue, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, one and all. Uh, I welcome all the participants and also the resource person, Sri.Mahesha Pandit, to this afternoon session. He will be speaking on design thinking for innovation. He hardly needs any introduction because he was a chief guest in the morning. Now I request Mahesha Pandit sir to carry on the session. It's over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Like I mentioned in the beginning, sorry, in the before, we are changing the topic a little bit. So we are focusing on the thinking aspect of design thinking. So I believe most of you have had some kind of introduction to what design thinking is. So we are focusing on what is this thinking within the design thinking. All right. So the title is, as you can see, putting thinking into design thinking. Now, what design thinking says is you empathize with your customers, identify the pain area, think and create a solution, check with them whether the solution is working for them or not, and go to market. This is the design thinking process. Here, the emphasis is empathizing with customers or empathizing with people. You must have heard of the company Bosch. It was called as Myco before, MICO, Myco, and it became Bosch. It was always a German company. It was started way back in 1950s or 1945 or so. Earlier, it was called as Myco. Then Bosch invested in it, and it became Myco Bosch. And then Bosch increased its investment. The company was called as Bosch Myco. Later on, it took over the company and it became Bosch. In 1960s, 50s and 60s, there was one managing director from Germany who was heading the Indian factory in Bangalore. He saw that many of the employees were very poor and they used to come from a very long time on a bicycle, sometimes with a small tiffin carrier and sometimes even without that. So this really upset him, it seems, and he started a service within the company to provide food for all the employees. And even today, Bosch does that, even though it has become a multi-billion-dollar company. It charges only 15 rupees per month, and it gives breakfast, unlimited lunch, evening snacks, coffee, tea, everything. So this is, see, the top man empathized with the pain of the employee. In this case, the relationship is employer and or employee and fellow employee. But as a solution provider, you can think about, you should feel the pain of your customers. Only then you can create better products. Otherwise, you'll create something which people hardly use. Why will people buy your product or service? They will buy if it helps them, if it solves their problem. Okay, so this question always remains, like, how do you solve these problems within design thinking? Fine, it's easy to say, look, do design thinking, innovate, go to market, become rich. But it doesn't work that way. This is the hardest path here. It's quite difficult. So, how do you innovate? How do you solve problems? Again, there are no defined ways, but then there are certain methodologies. Like, for example, it's like how do you eat an elephant? You know, eat bite by bite. So let's look at some of the innovations that is coming from India, which not many people know about, where people have felt empathy and used empathy to create these awesome products. One is, yeah, I'm not just, I've put in some 14, 15 examples here, but let me touch upon some of them. One is the first one, haptic shoe for the visually impaired. Blind people walking. They carry, traditionally they carry a stick, and God knows what information they get from the stick. And how do they navigate these complex roads of urban India? I don't understand really. What these guys have done is they've created a shoe, and if these people want to turn left, and then let's say they want to go from point A to point B, and they somehow program this shoe, and this shoe has a navigation, you know, it guides them, and if they need to turn left, the left shoe vibrates. If they need to turn right, the right shoe vibrates. Don't ask me what the vibration pattern for all other scenarios. I'm not familiar with it, but this is what I've read about it. Briefly, I know that this is a vibrating shoe that guides people which way they need to travel. The same thing you can, you can use this in tourist areas. You know, if you want them to go in a specific pattern within museums and all. Of course, not in India. India, I don't understand who goes to a museum. I want to go, but I think most of the museums are in a very bad shape. But at least abroad, you can use these haptic shoes. Um, Mitti cool refrigerator, some refrigeration made from mud. Um, Implantable biosensors for diabetes monitoring. So you can here you can feel the pain of a diabetes patient, right? Every time you need a blood sample, which means every time you have to jab, prick, take the blood, extract blood. But if you can implant a biosensor, it can monitor diabetes much better. Similarly, road construction using plastic waste. There is one road very close to our office here. That is the model road. They've used plastic waste, and it's been more than 10 years. I'm told it has not developed a single pothole. So the plastic material expands and contracts, it seems, and you know, it it ensures that the surface remains stable. See, if you have back pain, try going in a pothole-ridden road in an auto. I have I had developed severe back pain since past 5 weeks, and I had to go on this road in any mode of vehicle, my car or rented taxi or auto was very, very, very painful. So I can appreciate roads without potholes. So there are so many things like this. Yeah. There's one more example I can take is where um, offline internet for mobile phones. This is really, really interesting, right? So, and all these innovations have a pattern here. How do you innovate is visible in this slide itself. So I have highlighted some parts of the slide here. Those just focus on those red words. That gives you a clue. Okay. Either they encourage you to empathize on those points, or they give you a technology to use, or they give you an approach. For example, visually impaired, diabetes, chemotherapy. See, these are phrases that indicate empathy with with your user base. So these ideas had used empathy to come out with a solution. Sometimes it is technology, application of technology. For example, AR based virtual trial room, AI based power saver. Okay. Sometimes you go by um, you go by an objective. For example, AI based power saver. See, you are empathizing with the planet's power problem and you are applying a technology over there. Okay, similarly, plastic. Plastic is a pain for the planet, isn't it? So you are finding a new use for the plastic, right? So sometimes you go by empathy, sometimes you go by what's available technology, sometimes you go by a purpose, sometimes you apply a technique. For example, you take away what is available and see what happens. Let's say location tracking without technology. We all know, just on Google Maps, and you can track everything. Just all these mobile phones use make use of the GPS technology. Now, remove one way to innovate is to take away what is obviously available and see what happens. And how do you answer that? For example, you need to provide power. Sorry, you need to provide light, but there is no electricity. This led to the generation of battery-driven lamps and UPS, right? Similarly here, location needs to be tracked, but GPS is not available. Mobile needs to connect to internet, but it's offline. How do you handle this? Similarly, you need to guide people, but they can't see. So one way to innovate is to take away the dependent technologies and most obvious things. That gives you an opportunity to find replacement for all this for the missing piece. You can focus and try to fill that gap. So this is one example of how our thoughts are driven by these trigger points: availability, non-availability, excessive availability, disability, purpose, pain, disease. See, I keep telling people, it's very easy to innovate in India because wherever you see, there is a problem. Okay, this is an irony as well as a very painful statement. Wherever you see, you look around, all your people tell me, hey, how do I innovate? What do I innovate and all? Many people ask me for internships and guidance for projects and all. I keep telling them, just look around, guys. There are millions of problems everywhere. Yeah. So look around. There is a labor family that has come from thousands of miles. You don't even know who they are and where they are from, where they are going to sleep, whether that bright-looking child in that roadside family wants to become a doctor or not. You don't know. So why don't you create an app or something to track these migrant laborers? Why don't you talk to an insurance company to give an insurance to these people? Why don't you start an NGO to ensure that all the kids who are there in the construction worker family get to go to school? Yeah, just look around. Okay. So in India, there is a plenty. See, and the other problem is whenever we think of India, we think of only Bombay, Mumbai, Bangalore, and most of us don't even know what India is. So you need to travel. Okay. Uh, a tribal woman in the remote parts of Orissa, she has no access to mobile, but she needs a sanitary pad. What do you do? How does she get it? Right? So if you think, there are a lot of opportunities, especially in India. Just look around and also control your thought process. And or if you don't know any thought process, you can start with some ways of thinking. And if you want to innovate, um, you're You need to take care of, in my opinion, there are four things that you need to take care of. One, think in a very clear manner. Okay. So what happens is most of us start somewhere and end up somewhere else. No control on anything. Simply we time pass thinking this way, that way, and allow time to go, focus to wander, and clarity remains elusive. So first is we need to get a grip on clear thinking. Once your thinking is clear, then you can think in a creative way. So how do you think in a creative manner? That is also an art. There are few hundred techniques which you can try and see whether it works. Third one, after you have thought creatively and come out with an idea, how do you know that idea is correct? See, many people believe that there is a very strange thing. See, many people glorify ideas. Oh, it was my idea. Okay, this is my idea, he stole. Okay, we hang ourselves to that idea. But when I start, studying at MIT, the Professor Bill Owlett, he said, ideas are cheap. Ideas are cheap. There is a Zen story, two-word Zen story called 100 Monkeys. Zen stories are awesome, because within few words they make you go crazy. One of the interpretation of this Zen story, 100 Monkeys, is that before you got an idea, 100 monkeys would have got that idea. So don't feel so great that you got this idea. And ideas are cheap anyway. Why ideas are cheap? Because remember that equation? Innovation equals invention multiplied by commercialization. You may have invented a flying car or a golden shirt and kept it at your home. It's of no use unless the golden car, if you take the golden shirt to Bollywood and ensure that all the top 10 heroes are wearing it, you have commercialized it. Or talk to some other company, Peter England, and introduce golden thread infused business t-shirts or business executive shirt or whatever it is. Similarly, if there is you need to take it to market. That's what I'm saying. So how do you know the market accepts it? Many people retire after creating an idea. Okay, there are so many startups that I've seen. They usually come in. The number of people involved is usually four in a startup that have come to me. Usually, one person is the innovator. He's a super duper techie who has, or someone who has an idea. How did he get that idea? I don't know. It came to him. That's it. Suddenly, no innovator has explained to me how did he get this idea, how he got this idea. People say, yeah, I got it. My experience, yeah, I have awesome experience, 20 plus years, 30 plus years. And the second guy is usually the execution fellow, techie. And most of the innovators tell me they are not technical. Okay, which is another problem. See, I'm digressing a bit, but I hope that these inputs might help you a little. So most of the innovator usually says this. See, I have an idea. This guy, he is the technical one. He will do the implementation. Okay. And usually the third fellow is a friend who has who is connecting the innovator and me. So he's usually the third fellow. And the fourth one is a dumb guy. I don't know why they bring the fourth fellow. He says nothing, does nothing, plays no role, simply observes. Maybe he's a secret observer. I don't know. Okay. So most of the people, when I ask them, have you validated the idea? They'll say, yeah, yes. And they don't say single yes. It is always a 3 yes. Yes. What have you done? I asked them. How have you validated this idea? Yeah, I've checked with people. Okay. Who are these people? Okay. Yeah, my friends and colleagues, lot of customers. Lot means how many? 32, 43. See, when I probe like this, they get more and more frustrated. Okay, and then they decide, okay, this guy doesn't want to invest, or this guy doesn't want to help. He's just, he's showing off. Um, but validation is essential because there is a model called as fail fast. That means fail as soon as possible. See, Edison is seemed to have tried 2000 times before creating the successful light bulb. So if he had taken 10 months for each attempt, he wouldn't have found or created the correct light bulb. So you need to fail fast. You come up with an idea, run to the market, ask the actual end users, not your friends and family. Okay, ask the actual end users, if I sell this to you at 100 rupees, will you buy it? So they'll say yes or no, right? They're very clear. So that is the actual market validation. You even if you ask 30 people, n equals 30 is a large sample, right? So 30 to 100 people, if they validate, you are clear. So now if you have after validation, you need to think about making it big, isn't it? The sample is 30 people. You may catch them in one city, one area. Half of your friends, or the other half are friends of friends, something like that. I don't know. It is still a small thing. Now, if hundreds of them buy, you won't become filthy rich, isn't it? So you need to make it big. So how do you make it big? So thinking big is an art, actually. Okay, so not all of us are able to digest those big numbers, millions and billions and all. And unfortunately, most of us live in the dreamland of millions and billions and become penny wise, pound foolish, right? So this is your generic process of innovation, if you ask me. Clarify your mind, start thinking clearly, critically and clearly. Second, think creatively. Clear creative thinking will give you an idea, is most likely to give you an idea. Take that idea to the market and validate it. And after that, come back, think big and make it big. Okay? So again, the question is how to do all these things. Luckily, we have three gentlemen who have put together three collection of the techniques for these three ideas, which I am going to introduce to you very briefly in this session. Okay. Uh, First one is this guy, Rolf Dobelli. He has written a book called as compiled a book called as Art of Thinking Clearly. So how do you do this? So it's a small book, 200 rupees or 300 rupees is the cost. You can go there.
Mahesha, looks like you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? What was the last thing you heard? If can someone?
You just talked about buying that book, and that's where we lost you.
Yeah. So yeah, I was telling you that buy that book, but I have given a link to the PDF version, 225 pages, and look at this. He has given 99 ways. Okay. For example, here is see, most of it is somewhat common sense, but then you did not have this with you, right? For example, uh, teams are lazy. We always think that, oh, teams are great, isn't it? a team of people are actually required to solve something. And if you have in your imagination, if there is a team, you'll be happy and you'll think that the job is done. That's not so. Because one of the trainers, they told me, which is true in my experience also, two Indians make three teams. Okay. The more people join the team, the number of communication channels increases, and the effectiveness of communication decreases, the complexity increases, and the net output is not so nice. So social loafing, see, there are certain things like this, these kind of phases. So if you want to think clearly, don't sit in a group of three is more, three is a crowd actually. One is ideal, but see, one is, it works for some people and doesn't work for some people. It works for me most of the cases. But one, two, three, that's all. That only so many people you should involve. See, and see, this book gives you some lessons like this. People behave differently in groups than when alone. So this guy has really compiled a good set of uh, uh, approaches like this. Yeah. Look at the first one. Why you should visit cemeteries? Because it helps you fight this bias called as survivorship bias. So in a startup, there will be a promoter. It is his idea or her idea. Everything about that idea is known only to that person. It gets never, it does not get passed on to other people. So what happens if that person becomes a photograph? This is what the investor thinks. What if this guy, oh, this guy seems to be the key person. What if he becomes a photograph? Will this group be able to run with the vision? So nobody wants to think about not living, right? Not being alive. Definitely, when you're starting a business or when you're in startup, the last thing you think about is your death, isn't it? No one thinks about it. But business continuity, formation, the survival of the startup, these are all important. So to clear your thinking, you should overcome that survivorship bias. You're not going to be there for too long. So how is this going to survive? So these are, see, they are not in any particular order. Okay. So and then we have labels. Oh, he's from IIT. He's from MIT. He's, IIM. So much celebration. But is there evidence for smartness? So you need to look. So this tip encourages you to detach from labels. Innovator, uh, PhD fellow from IIM, yeah, Brahmin, this caste, Indian, Desi, Videsi, all this, yeah, AI, machine learning. I'm fed up with, I'm a pure computer science fellow. I become so angry when people use AI ML for everything. Oh, this is an AI driven coffee machine. Uh, Everything they see, put AI ML and believe that it is possible. They don't even like labels. People make use of labels and they bet on labels and take risks on labels. So you need to think beyond labels. Okay. Social proof. Yeah, this is very important. Even Donald Trump uses this, right? People are saying that I'm the greatest president. Who are these people, right? So you should always ask these people, who are your customers? You should name them if possible. Or at least see, who are the customers of Lego? Tomorrow I'll be presenting Lego case study. Lego says our customers are kids aged 7 to 9 years, boys. See how narrow is their definition? Right? So like that, you should identify who are these people. and get the validation done from them. Okay? Don't accept free drinks. We have all understood this in the case of WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp was free, right? What did you take away? Our privacy. Okay? Don't bow to authority. Authority bias. If your manager says that is true. If your principal says that is true. If the research person says this is how you do think, that is true. Should not go that way. So these are all examples of this examples available in this book. 99 techniques. Okay. So less is more. Paradox of choice. Okay. Sometimes you can do a lot with very little things, very less. Liking bias. If you like me, you really, really, really like me. That means you like everything about me. But maybe you're liking just one aspect of me. Same thing goes with your product design. If people like WhatsApp, they may like chat aspect of WhatsApp, nothing else. Or maybe they like that blue double tick, which says, yes, this idiot has seen my message. Now I had sent the contract. Blue double tick means, okay, he has accepted the contract. It doesn't mean that you like everything about everyone, right? So when you think about a solution to a problem, or when you put forward an idea, you should ensure that it is free from all these biases. See, so many biases are there. Hindsight bias, story bias, availability bias. Okay. See, why we prefer a wrong map to no map at all. We always say, no, it's good, no, something to mila. Kuch to mila, le. That's what is our option, right? But what if you have a wrong thing on the hand? There is a Chinese proverb: a fool with a tool is still a fool. Yeah, if I think that I'm a carpenter just because I'm holding a hathodi or whatever, not hathodi, what is that? What do you call that? Topda marne wala cheese in my hand, that doesn't make me a carpenter, right? So, as an innovator, you have to get a grip on your thoughts and knowledge. For example, look at this. Why you systematically overestimate your knowledge and abilities. Why do we do this? Why in our minds we are always great? I don't understand, but we do that. We overestimate ourselves, underestimate others. And we believe that we can control a lot of things, which is not true. Nobody listens to you. You will listen, you will understand it when your child reaches teenage. How much control you really have in your own production. Okay. Um, don't cling to things. This we do this. Oh, this is I've seen. Oh, this is my idea. This is my idea. That is one thing people cry. So far I've advised around 13 or 14 startups. In all these cases, I've seen people clinging to this IP. Oh, IP is mine. It's not. It's most probably not. Okay. Um, yeah, this one. There is a belief that in the universe everything is balanced. How do you know this? What is this universe? Yeah, many people mix spirituality, pseudoscience, logic, and all sorts of things into an idea. So it's crazy. Okay. Teams are lazy. Everyone is beautiful at the top, the halo effect. So if he is a senior manager and above, director of a company, CEO, CXO, yeah, it should be great, right? So if you look at all these things, it will help you clean up your thoughts. Okay. See, it is never just a two-race horse. And the other thing that I've heard most of the startups that I've advised is when I ask them about competition, who are your competition? 90% of the cases, they say, we don't have competition. And in the remaining 10%, they say, we are our own competition. So I'll be thinking like, it's all wordplay. But it shows that if you say that we don't have competition, which means that you are biased. There is alternative blindness, and you are not done your homework, and your ego is high. So investors can extract this information, and it highlights flaws in your thinking. Okay. Why New Year resolutions don't work? Procrastination. This is also, there is a theory called, what is that? Parkinson's effect. Work expands to time available. Okay. I wanted to do my PhD in 2002 and I gave 16 years and it took 16 years. I'm doing my PhD now. Why? Because I gave time. So it expanded. It took all the time that I gave. Okay. When you take on too much, oh, I have too much on my plate. Many people roam around telling that I am busy, I'm busy. If you stop and ask, why are you busy? That not many people do. Okay, so there's a failure of planning. Why you should not read the news. Now, after all this nonsense from past 2 years, I've stopped reading news actually. So, see, so many tips for clear thinking. If you are aware of all the fallacies in your thoughts and issues in the way you think, yeah, it is you'll be more aware of your thinking style, and you can adjust your style, and you can clean up so that better thoughts come out. So how do you do this? You have these 99 things. Well, I suggest you read this, try to remember these things, validate, write it down, maintain a diary, as this says, keep a diary, write down your thought, and then see whether it is clean from biases. Make a checklist out of it. You can do all these things, okay? Or have another person, you give this list to your friend and you tell him your thoughts and ideas about the new invention, and let the other friend validate whether you are bringing out clustering illusion, or whether there is a confirmation bias in it, or there is a whether your uh, you know conjunction fallacy is visible. Let the other person or a couple of other people validate your thought process. Isn't it great? Many people ask, how do I think? There is a book which is a compilation of age-old techniques. Okay, and it costs what? It is free. I've given you PDF link, but check the license of that PDF link. Okay, don't hurt the author. Please buy it. It is what, 300 rupees or so. It's available on Amazon. Thinking clearly, art of thinking clearly. If you go to Amazon, it doesn't cost much actually. Art of, hey, art of thinking clearly. Ralph Dobelli. How much is it? 291 rupees. Hardcover. I have a physical copy. Paperback 119. It's 300 rupees. You will get an excellent pocket book. Keep practicing this, and then there is a good chance that your quality of your thinking, a good chance that it can improve. Okay. Okay, that's about clear thinking. Then let's see creative thinking. Here is another guy, Rod Judkins, The Art of Creative Thinking. Let's look at this book in Amazon, The Art of Creative Thinking. Yeah, this also is very, very cheap, 312 rupees. See, now what this says, let's see, creative thinking. Yeah, creativity. Some people say artists are born, creative people are born. You cannot teach creativity. All that is nonsense. Okay, anyone can do anything. All human beings are the same. If this thought can occur to one person, you are also capable of having the same thought. The only difference is the other person has done it and you have not done it. That's the only difference. Effort makes all the difference. Okay. So there are about 99 techniques, I think 99 or 89. I've forgotten how much it is. So there are so many tips like this. For example, yeah, see what happens when you make something happen. You know, you have dreamt of writing a journal paper, dreamt of writing the PhD exam, starting a PhD, dreamt of giving a speech, dreamt of starting a business. What is the worst case? It's going to happen. Start a business and see what happens. You will incur loss and close it. That's all, right? How much it takes? There's only one way to find out. Do it, and you will get the feedback, right? Be a beginner forever. This I like very much actually. Okay. Blame Michelangelo. Yeah, you see, you need to read the book to understand what is it. What does it mean? Maybe there is a story. Before you apply this technique, na, replacing Michelangelo with the name of your HOD, okay, please read what it is. Okay, don't be someone else. This I've tried my life, and it's very liberating. You don't need to be something or someone. See, if you want to become another Sachin Tendulkar, then we already have one. One is required and one is enough. You be something else, right? Be a generator. Doubt everything all the time. Okay, don't try this at home and get into trouble and blame me later on. Okay, yeah. So use these tips with caution. Be naturally inspired. This is another thing. We have some sort of solution for most of the problems in nature. Do you want to survive? Just look at this plant outside your window during winter. Right now, all the plants are struggling, right? There is a tree, Pongemia tree, Pongemia piñata. In Kannada, it is called Honge Mara. In Tamil, it is Vengai. I don't know in Hindi. That one, it has dropped all the leaves and looks pathetic right now. But it is surviving. Okay, so how do you survive? How does it survive? By dropping everything that it is not required. This Michelangelo fellow has created his famous work called as uh, Michelangelo David. This is the This is his greatest piece of production, it seems, David. So somebody asked him, it seems, how come you have made it so beautiful? Yeah, it is so creative. And all. How did you create this? And Michelangelo said, it seems, I removed everything that is not David. So he started with a boulder and started taking away everything that is not a part of David. So maybe there was some rock here, so he removed it because that rock is not David. So similarly, one way to think about your product and service is try to visualize and start taking away all those things that are not a part of your solution. Okay, that is also one way of thinking in a creative manner. Okay, that is what is cut it out is, I think. Okay, don't be an expert on yourself, consult others. Don't be stubborn about compromise. That means this, if you easily compromise, your vision gets affected. So try to stay focused on your vision and try to visualize, stay focused until your complete picture emerges. Okay. Uh, find out how to find out. This is also very important. Many people roam around, especially youngsters nowadays. They don't know anything. And they don't know that they don't know. That is another meta level problem. And I keep telling them, look, go to this person, he will guide you how to do the next step. They don't follow. So similarly, if you are involved in creating creative thinking, if you don't know, consult this book, right? See, you need to find out how to find out. Do you know whether this product, you have a super duper e-governance idea? Go to government of, catch hold of some Babu and ask him, hey Babu, does this idea work in your area? Or who is it that I need to speak to understand how I can improve the transportation facility in New Delhi or Gurgaon? I have an app. How do you do that? Okay. So it's important that we seek out these ways of how to do it. And in that process, you will collaborate. And when you work with other people, you will leave an impression with them, thinking that, wow, this guy thinks differently. Yeah, nice. Yeah. So they remember you and they try to align with you. And creative thinking is not a lonely thing. Okay. So you need a minimum set of people to think creatively and achieve something. Open your minds. Easier said than done. Okay. Search without finding. So many techniques. Get into credit. Don't apply for loan and all. Just reading that sentence. Okay, then tell me that, yeah, Mahesha sir told me get into credit. That's why I'm taking this loan. See, these are just titles I picked up from that book, but I'm sure that there is an explanation which will add more perspectives into these sayings, and I'm sure that there is a lot of information available out there. Okay, for example, this cross-pollination. This is really helpful. Okay. Um, we encourage startups to have different types of people in the team. Um, box your way out of boxes. Here comes the box once again. Okay, so see, these are some of the tips available for creative thinking. So most of them invite you to be different and daring and experiment. If you look at there's a pattern in any of these things. They seem to say X is not Y. Sometimes and they are trying inviting you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. That means they expect you to be courageous, and then nearly each of these recommendations invite you to experiment. Okay, so do that, and you will have some creative result as the output. Okay, so now this is creative thinking, and now the fourth one is the third point that we were talking about is validation. I've spoken enough about validation. Now let's see what tools and techniques are available for thinking big. Surprise, surprise, there are 100 ways. Okay, there is another fellow, Jeremy Cordy, who seem to have found or compiled 100 ways to think big. Let's see how much his book costs, and I'm not surprised if it is around 300 rupees. How much is it? The big 100. The big 100 business tools you need to succeed. What? Out of stock? 924. Okay. Even then, 10 rupees per big idea. You can look inside. Let's look inside. See, for every technique, he has given a lot of information here. Okay, so let's look at this list of tools. Scenario planning. We think of this, when we create solutions and ideas, we'll be largely thinking of one or two scenarios, which the two which are directly related to our ideas, and we assume ideal behavior from all the most of these stakeholders involved. Okay, but scenario planning, you have to think about different actors acting in different ways and bring in take away certain things and see what happens, and identify more and more stresses on your system when certain resources are not available. So scenario planning is a very good tool to validate the extensibility of your idea. Okay. There is a rule of 150. That means after an organization reaches 150 employees or customers or ideas, you need to break it down. You need to, create one more. Understanding the demography. This is what I was telling in the morning. We usually don't understand our customer base. We don't know much about India. It's difficult. We make a lot of assumptions. So when you start breaking down as the demography, for example, you have a user, you should start identifying profiles. Okay. For example, a youth under 30. Again, male or female, educated or uneducated, rural or urban, employed or unemployed, right? Studying, Indian living abroad, Desi living abroad, or there's so many personas you have to create, and then see whether that demography, what is the impact of your idea and all those demographies. And is there any special thing that they look for which you can add it into your idea? Then your idea becomes much more uh, uh, rich and therefore well received by those segments. Deep dive prototyping. market testing, cannibalizing. That is one thing. If you are providing a service and you innovate, you will be consume. You will be damaging the existing service or product. It's possible. So your new idea might consume the old idea. So maybe that is the right way to do. I don't know. So clustering, combining related things together, right? Highlighting unique selling points, USPs. See, these techniques, 100 things, help us on the right side of the innovation equation. Remember the innovation equation? Innovation equals invention multiplied by commercialization. See, these tools, some of these tools, sorry, techniques helped here, listed here, help invention, and some of these techniques help commercialization of that invention. For example, highlighting unique selling points, that that is useful, that is required for commercialization. Okay. Bumper sticker strategy. This is also very, very interesting. If you have a super duper idea, and if you want to make, if you want everyone to, your customers want to put a sticker on their car, which explains your idea, what would it be? What will you write on that? India's top social media app. Is it? Or if you are selling a financial product or a stock market estimation app, would you say, what would you say? What would you want that sticker to say? Or if you have a unique business proposition which saves 20% of the energy at a city level, what do you want that sticker to say? Switching off India systematically, is it? Or saving 100 trees per day per across saving 1,000 trees per hour, is it? Something. What is that catchy? See, if you apply this tool, you'll be thinking about the single most powerful communication out of your about your invention. The flying car, get to Gurgaon in 6 minutes. I don't know. I'm just giving random wild examples. But the power of this tool, bumper sticker strategy, is to bring in, it will force you to pull out one feature which out of your invention, which will help commercialization. Okay. So they look very innocent, these tools, but they have a lot of power inside them. The tipping point. This is also very, very, very important. Let's say you have a product or a service, a customer is in front of your product or service, he's thinking, whether to buy or not, buy or not, buy or not. So you are inside the shop, you'll be looking at the customer, le lega, nahi le lega, le lega, nahi le lega. So what is that tipping point wherein he decides to buy? Okay. And how do you make this customer approach the tipping point as fast as possible? Feel good advertising, lifestyle brand, being honest with customers. Built-in obsolescence. This is also is very, very interesting to make things big. We have a customer. They make elevators, and we have designed a software for them to take care of their elevators. They were telling me, as the age of the elevator ages, the cost of maintenance also increases. So it becomes less and less profitable for us. That is why we don't sell maintenance contracts after for old elevators and all. And while telling that, the customer said something interesting. He said, "We have built-in mechanism to make sure that the customer will come back to us." And I was surprised. I asked him, "How is that possible?" They say, Mahesh, after 8 or 10 years, this cable will break loose, or this switch will go out of its normal life. Okay, something like this will happen. So the customer will have no other way but to contact us for maintenance or replacement. See, this is one trick of building in the obsolescence so that I'm not the judge whether it is ethical to do, is the right, or let's park that argument for a while. But if you want to increase your customer base and ensure that the customers are in touch, you have to build in obsolescence into it. That's what Apple is doing. After a while, you can't use your Apple iPhone 5. You have to throw it away, right? This is why most of the apps force us to upgrade, isn't it? The app asks, "Do you want to upgrade me?" And you usually escape telling, "No, go away." It will bother you for 5 6 days. Then what will it do? It will stop working. So that is building in obsolescence. So it is forcing your user base to buy your better version of the product. So these are tools. See, there are good tools, there are no good tools, there are no bad tools. Tool is a tool. You can use the hammer to bang in a nail or damage someone with it. What do you do with the tool is up to you. Okay, that's why the Chinese proverb, a fool holding a tool is still a fool. So you should be, it's all in the application. Developing Islamic products. Have you thought about that? Every product that you have, especially software, its Islamic version, excuse me, there can be an Islamic version out of it. Why? Because their screens are run from right to left. It's a new UI, new product. So if you, this is just an example, developing Islamic products. Here, Islamic is a representation of a market segment that is different from yours. If you after making your product, if you think about other contexts, other geographies, other religions, other philosophies, naturally your product's reach is multiplying, isn't it? Let's say I have a banking product, a simple loan giving product. My Islamic version could be another product because in Islamic banking there is no interest. You can't charge interest as per Islam. I am not very clear on this concept. I think it is called as zakat or something. It's, there are some rules around it. See, you have a variant of your product, isn't it? Therefore, your market expanded, your thoughts expanded. We have 193 nations listed on United Nations. So how does your product or service work differently for all these people? So this is how you can get into expansive thinking. There is this six hat thinking also. Six hat thinking is that wherein you switch the roles, and in order to validate your Edward de Bono, this guy introduced six different personas or portfolios to think about um, um, your product or a solution from this different perspective. For example, if you are putting on a yellow hat, you have to think sunshine. So you should only consider the positive things out of your product or a service. Similarly, if you have Black hat, usually we say devil's advocate. Here you have to think, you have to be very critical of your product and yourself and your services. Okay, see, that is also one strategy. If you apply these six hat thinking, you will discover ways of you will discover new markets. Okay, and new possibilities for your product or service. Microfinance, this we keep many people come to me. So far 14 or 15 people have come to me asking for help raising investment, and most of them ignore this facility of microfinance. There are so many microfinance platforms wherein you can seek investment from general public. Thousands of people can invest in you. They're contributing small values, so that is much easier than raising a large capital from a single investor. Okay. All right, there is a last one, this innovation culture. That is also a big thinking tool, because every innovation has an ability to exponentially multiply your business. So if your company has that culture, there's a potential to grow big. Okay, then there is silo busting. We live in buckets, boxes, and we live in our own narrow worlds, and we need to come out of it. So there is increased collaboration, increased transparency, sharing ideas. Another trait amongst innovators is secrecy. Oh, they'll be running around telling my IP, my IP, my IP. They hardly share things. But there is a lot of value if they share their idea at the right person, at the right context. They can increase alignment and increase support, so the deployment and growth has a potential to become quite big. Okay, viral marketing. Internal preparation, succession planning. This is important. Succession planning. Not many innovators think about the future. What happens after 3 years? What happens? What's your plan after 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? The more you probe them, the more and more and more awkward it becomes for innovators, and they'll be, moving around in their chair, making faces, and sometimes they give out a rude remark as well. Okay, but it's important. Succession planning is important. That shows that throws insight into your ability to think big. If an innovator says, look, I want to get 10 stable customers, 50 crore revenue in the 5 years, after that I want to sell this company and then move on to this level, and I want to do these things, then I have 3 people lined up to take over from me. I'll be available for larger thoughts and better projects if you have any. This is how people these are the this is how people having big vision speak. Okay, and of course this speech should be backed up by belief and evidence. That's it. That's all. That goes without saying. Okay, so there are many techniques. Look at this one, user centered innovation. This is the core principle of design thinking. Design thinking is an implementation of user centered innovation. All right. We have obviously more tools than this. There is one Swot, SWOT. That's a very good tool to look at yourself and your abilities or your ideas from the 4 major dimensions: strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats. Then there is the Johari window. Johari window is another technique. See, you can put a graph. You can put a grid. Let's put a grid. Let me quickly insert a table 2 by 2. MBA people are well known for drawing 2 by 2s. For everything, they'll be drawing 2 by 2. I'm told. So this is let's say this is let's say this quadrant. Let it represent what you know about yourself. Similarly, this one is what you don't know about yourself. What you don't know. What you know, what you don't know. Similarly, what others know. What others know about you. And what others don't know about you. Okay, so let's put this combination. Let's talk about the thing. Okay, let's say there is some factor which you also know, others also know. Okay, so it's everything is clear. Okay, this is usually the strength. Yeah, others know that you are a good communicator. You also know that it is uh, you also know that you are a good communicator. So communication is your strength. Yeah. Let's say there are things that you know, others don't know. Usually these are fears. Okay, your weaknesses or fears or secrets. You know that you are not a graduate, but others don't know. Great. And you can run until you are caught, isn't it? There are things which neither you know nor others know. That is anyway, it's a blind spot. Who knows? Right? You also don't know. Let me give an example. Am I a good politician? I don't know. Do you know whether Mahesha can be a good politician? You also don't know. So this is a blind spot. Now there is this interesting window here. Yeah. Let me highlight this window. This is a very interesting window. Okay. Very special. There are things that others know about you, but you don't know. Okay. This is a massive opportunity. This is what is called as Johari window. Two people, I think one's name was starting with Jonathan or something, another one is Harry or something. So they called it as Johari window. Two people, Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham. They created this technique. Okay, so it's important. This is expand your Johari window. That is also it need not be about you as a person. It can be about your product or a service. If people know more about your product or a service compared to you, that's an opportunity, right? You tap into it and try to make it big. So you have a lot to gain there. All right. So let me return to the presentation. So just I wanted to introduce these three books. So summary: innovation needs clear thinking and creative thinking. In fact, I can change this. Yeah, I'm right. Innovation, both invention and both the invention part and commercialization part. Commercialization part needs clear thinking and creative thinking. This is a no-brainer, right? It is very clear. Thinking big really helps. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in small ponds and um, minor part of the equation. So you need to apply techniques, a wide variety of techniques available. You need to fail fast and validate, fail fast so that your efforts are conserved. If you are hanging on to your idea, which if you take 5 years to understand that your idea doesn't work, you have lost 5 years, isn't it? Whereas you reach that same conclusion within 50 days, then you have saved how many years? You have saved nearly 1,400 days. So that is the thinking behind fail fast. Okay. And best way to validate is to ask people. Now, who are these people? It's not like Donald Trump's people. You know, you have to define those people. Usually they should represent your user base. Okay. So ask them. They'll tell you whether they'll buy the solution or not. Okay. So this is what I wanted to give you a brief insights into ways of thinking and uh, give you encouragement that there is a method to this madness. It's not that thinking is needs to be wild or anything. No, there can be a methodology. There can be there is a method to this madness. Uh, these things work. These things keep you on the line and focused, these techniques, and they are a scientific process as well. So you can learn from your mistakes. You can think that, oh, I was in the survivorship bias. Okay, let me validate, create the next version of my thought. Okay, this is free from survivorship bias. Okay, so you can follow such a process and maximize the chance of your success. Right, so 3:50, we have 10 minutes. This is what I wanted to present. I hope it was useful. Now I'll take some questions if you have any.
Dear participants, if you have any can go ahead with your questions.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yes, sir. So my question was like you have explained so many different like ideas and methods to in all those steps. So like for some problem to solve for an organization or for individual or for any team, a small team. So how to shortlist down from these ideas, like until unless we read all those ideas and then we gather that these three methods on these three things will help, or like how to go about that. So there are so
Yeah,
many things to read and understand.
yeah, correct. You're right. The thing is, any of your thoughts should be free from all these biases, survivor bias, all those biases. That you have to ensure. So you have to shortlist, include all the biases. Okay, check your biases. That's the least you have to follow. The other way to do is, instead of filtering, what you can do is, if there are about 90 known techniques, you can have three people or say five people, each one focusing on 20 techniques, and validate your thought or an idea from these 20 perspectives. So that might help really. And all this, if you keep reading, you can see these are all just 2 minutes per technique. Most of them are common sense driven. If you just keep referring it without knowing it, they become part of your personality. Okay, see, you don't need me to come and say, look, you need to remove biases. Don't think like other people, or don't think like you are the only fellow who knows this, something like that. That's all common sense driven things, right?
Yes.
So um, it's not overwhelming, it's not too much actually. If you, what I recommend is you just look at this list and maybe pick up the top 30 things that are essential.
Okay, sir.
So
Yeah.
there is no right or wrong answer. It all depends on how many people you have, how much time you have, and how accurate you want to be. And my belief is that as a person, you may already have some parts, some of these techniques built into you unknowingly, isn't it? So you'll be
Yes,
surprised.
sir.
Yeah, you'll be surprised pleasantly, as rather than the other way. Saying that, yeah, this is how I do. I don't bow to authority. Yeah, of course. I don't think like that. Maybe it is already part of your personality. So when you have, see, these are hardly, they may take 1 or 2 hours first time. Okay, you can do
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you. So it's like exploring all these methods and see what fits where and how it fits.
Yeah, what is required? For
What is
example, for
required? Yeah.
yeah, what is required in creative thinking? Let's say you already have an idea, so you don't need creative thinking. The idea has come out.
Yeah.
Even clear thinking is not required. The dose technique you need not revisit, but validate whether there is any bias built into your idea or a product. Okay. um, and then apply all these 100 tools. And
Yeah.
applying 100 tools is nice because each technique might give new markets and new possibilities for your product. Okay. And
Yeah.
then there are certain tools which you may not require at all. For example, the rule of 150, which says that break down your organization if it is more than 150 people. Well, you're not there yet. Okay, isn't it? So that idea doesn't apply at all. Franchising is another idea. If your idea doesn't encourage giving franchisees, then that is not applicable. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Customer bond with the customer. Do you need someone else to tell this to you? Of course you need to bond with the customer, right? So then
Yes.
that's obviously included. Make employees proud. Yeah, which says take good care of your employees. So obviously you need to follow that. So certain things are very common sense driven obvious things. Okay. Certain
Okay.
things are already built into you. Okay. And only there could be certain things which you are not familiar, that you have to read and just uh, deal with it. And these are small,
Explore.
this is a small book, 250 pages or something. How big is it? I don't think it is big. These are all small books. Maybe look at this 100 techniques. How many pages are there? Let me search page.
Hello, sir.
Yep.
Hi, Divya here. Could you please simplify survivorship bias for me?
Survivorship bias. Okay. Survivorship bias assumes that I am going to outlive the other people. What happens when you go to cemeteries? You see a lot of dead people, right? Even Napoleon, Nehru, all these great people who have changed the history of this planet are dead right now. Einstein is dead, right? So survivorship bias sends you a message that there is going to be a natural end to you as an innovator, and there is going to be a natural end for your product as well. So if you are aware of this fact, you will look for that natural end and ensure that it is not going to be there. Or you are ready to handle that when that natural end comes. So you should design that feature into your application. For example, we have Aadhaar, right? What is the survivorship bias? Does Aadhaar suffer from survivorship bias? Okay, let's talk about PAN number. Why do we need a PAN card? What if the next government is going to say, look, we had enough of enough is enough. Let's use Aadhaar itself as a PAN. You can do that, right? It is only a matter of a decision. One single decision can put an end to PAN. So if you have designed your application, which makes PAN card mandatory, know that there is one day it is going to die. So that is the reality which you have to recognize. So survivorship bias makes you think that, look, nothing is permanent. That is the basis behind that.
Great. Okay, clear, sir. Thank you.
There is one question I don't understand. Let me know if we are finalizing in the thoughts only what to do. I don't understand this question. So, Simika or ma'am, if you can clarify this question, maybe I'll try to attempt to answer that. Johari window in interpersonal relationship. I don't know, it's a statement or a question. See, Johari window applies, it can be applied in any way, like even in customer supplier scenario, to validate data privacy, so many things. In fact, the toy store sellers told Lego, the toy maker, that they know more about their product than the makers of the product. So Lego seems to have taken this feedback seriously and asked them, what do you know about our product? And imagine, maker of the product asking the customer, "Arey batao, what do you know about my product which I don't know?" And they took notes and they were surprised to learn that customers perceive their product in a different way. So Johari window works in different ways, different contexts. All right. So if there are no more questions, I will hand over the control back to the organizers. So thank you very much. I hope this was a useful session. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So we will wind up what we had in the afternoon session. The afternoon session, there was a change in the title, putting thinking into the design thinking. And sir introduced about how to solve problems and how to innovate things. He took few examples of new innovations from India, from the area of creativity based on availability and non-availability, etc. He talked intensively on clear thinking, creative thinking, validation, and thinking behind boundaries. And he introduced about the book by Rodolphe Rodelli, The Art of Thinking Clearly. And from there, he took many examples of creative thinking from listing from 1 to 10. And from there, he introduced about business tools for thinking big from 1 up to 10. So one of the eye-catching was the six-hat thinking. The other was the Johari window, which we had in a different name as a SWOT analysis. And this was a new thing for Johari window that we have understood from you, sir. And it was a very interesting and interactive session with our participants. I thank you on behalf of the Department of Mechanical Engineering on behalf of our coordinator, Dr.K.Sabeel Ahmed, and on behalf of all our participants. I thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Just stay for a minute. I'm typing the name of those 3 books. I'll be pasting in the chat window. Just a minute.
Sure. So meanwhile, dear participants, we have an announcement for you. We have opened up the feedback and attendance for day 1, session 3. It is shared in the chat box. It is shared also as well in a WhatsApp group. Please fill this forum because this is important. We will consider this as the attendance, and it will be open up to 4:30 p.m.
Okay. So I have typed the name of 3 books. The Art of Thinking Clearly by Ralph W. One by Creative Thinking by Rod Judkins, and The Big 100 by Jeremy Cordy. All 3 books put together doesn't cost more than 1,500 rupees. So you should have hundreds of copies of them in your libraries, and you should encourage your students to at least flip through them. If they don't read, at least let them know that such a tool, such a book exists. Okay, so with that, thank you very much. Have a good evening. So we will meet tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We will continue our session tomorrow. Tomorrow 10 a.m. sharp. So thank you, one and all.